in the
It's
world?
Frozone! Yeah!
No, it's not.
It should be. Why isn't Frozone get his own movie?
Okay, so anyway.
Frozone!
Welcome to Drawing Conclusions. I'm Jessica.
I'm Frozone. Oh, wait, no, I'm Josh.
And today we're going to be talking about Frozen 2.
Yes, we are.
Yes. Josh, what did you think of this movie?
Yeah. I liked the animation. I thought that was very good. A lot of beautiful scenery that they create.
Yes.
And they had some nice stuff there. Other than that, I thought the movie was just okay. Also, heads up, this will probably contain spoilers, so...
It's been out a while.
It's
People
been out a while.
Know.
Yeah. They should.
Just kidding.
But still, this does contain some spoilers. This movie it was just okay.
Yeah, so I thought the animation was very nice. One of the things I really liked about it was the opening. I liked getting more information about Anna and Elsa's parents and that relationship between the family, and seeing the love that existed. The parents were not very fleshed out in the first movie at all.
No.
I mean, they're not in this movie
much either.
But you get a little bit different sense of them. In the first movie, it's very much like they're the, harsh parents who are trying to keep Elsa from using her powers, and they're very one note. And this, you get to see, a different side of them, which is nice.
A little history of Arendelle in there as well.
Right, and you get to see them at different ages. I'll just say that. And I really enjoyed that. I enjoyed the opening. I thought the opening of the movie was very nice. I thought the music was good for the most part. I enjoyed most of the music.
Really?
Most of it. And the animation was very beautiful. I don't know. It felt unnecessary, this movie.
Yeah, I think my biggest complaint with the show is that everything felt forced. A lot of it felt pretty forced. Like they're just like, okay, and now there's this conflict, now there's this one, then we solved this puzzle, and then now it's on to the next thing. It's like
it didn't have a good flow to the story.
No, there wasn't a lot of discovery. It was very predictable as well. And, you could see the ending coming a mile away.
Right.
And the mystery was really not well shielded until, like, a moment of, like, a big reveal. It was just like, yeah, okay, I can see where this is going.
Right.
And, all the conflict and, what's the word I'm looking for? Like, menace and things like that. The conflicts they set up in the story, they don't really have a payoff.
Right.
It's like the cities, the kingdom and the castle and all that stuff, the town is threatened with, massive flood and destruction, and the people are evacuated, and then nothing happens.
Well, I mean, and the rescue isn't very exciting. Everything just seemed kind of like, the climax seemed anticlimactic. I never really felt scared for any of the characters. I never really felt emotionally invested in the story.
No.
I felt like it was just really a very shallow tale. Not that it wasn't like it was terrible. It wasn't like I was like in there saying, oh my gosh, I can't wait for this to be over. Or, this is horrible. I mean, our kids all enjoyed it.
Yeah.
Our kids really liked it.
They did.
And, to go see a movie with your kids or whatever, it's fine. It's fine for what it is. And it has some really fun moments and funny moments.
It does.
And it's nice to look at. But in terms of just like my connection to the characters, my connection to the story, just nothing was developed well enough for me to feel anything about this movie, which for me is a very boring movie-going experience. Like, I didn't feel thrilled, scared, excited, sad, happy. I really just felt kind of nothing watching it.
Right. I mean, there was no anxious moments, and there was no, like, big reveal that was like,
Right.
you didn't see, like I said before, coming a mile away.
Right. And there are some new characters in this movie, but they really get very little time and pretty much no character development,
Not
which
really.
makes you kind of feel like, why even have them in there? Like they're kind of shoehorned in there. The movie suffers from this weird phenomenon of being both too long and too short at the same time.
Yes.
And what that really means is that they spent too long on some aspects of the film, and then they spent hardly any time on other aspects. We're like really developing the story, really developing the characters, giving some weight to the things that the characters were experiencing. They didn't really do any of that, but they spent a lot of time singing. A lot of time singing.
Right.
And this felt more like a movie where they were like, these were the elements of the first movie that people liked, and here's how we can make sure that kids are going to want to see this, and we're going to be able to still have things in our theme parks around Frozen, and we're going to be able to sell lots of merchandise, and we'll be able to, sell a lot of,
Get a lot of tickets sold for this show, that's for
people
sure.
will download the album a lot on Spotify or whatever.
iTunes.
Stream
yeah.
it a lot on Spotify. That's how it felt to me. It didn't really feel like they had a compelling story that they really wanted to tell and that they really had a clear message. Although actually then afterwards, after we saw it and I was thinking about it some more, I was like, and yet I feel like there was this really, not like it's super subtle, but not really well developed political point that they were trying to make too, based on our current situation and this whole idea of a wall and borders and blah, 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 blah. But like, then they weren't even, but they didn't really go there. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
It was like this veiled, subtle, vague thing.
Yeah, it had no payoff.
And I'm not sure that, to the point where I'm like, I don't know if they really intended that or if I'm just reading into it.
Sure, yeah, because, we always take our, whatever we're dealing with around us
But I
with
think
us.
probably there was some of that, but then they were like, well, we can't really hit it too hard because it's a kid's movie and it's Disney and it's got to appeal to everybody. And
Yeah, it's like they thought about walking up to the edge, but then
Yeah.
didn't, so it's like they couldn't even really get that far. But yeah, I see what you're saying with that. I could see where you could take it that way.
just make, but like not having a point of view and not having something to say just makes your movie just not interesting.
No, it's just a bunch of people doing stuff, and like I said, if there were some moments that felt really contrived. One in particular, but I guess we're not doing spoilers, so I'll leave it at that. It just like it was just to stop off to find something to get and go somewhere else. It was like that.
What move? Oh, when they found the parents' ship.
They find the parents' shipwrecked.
Yeah.
It didn't really serve a whole lot of purpose. Like, oh yeah, they got a little bit of closure, but then like they move right on. And
Well,
it's
I
like,
didn't feel like the movie really served a purpose. Like, I didn't really feel like this movie had anything to say. I didn't.
Yes.
Or that had something new to say over Frozen 1. Like it was trying to convey some kind of new point or some further aspect of the development of these characters, and their growth and their journey, which is funny because it's like they both ended up in radically different places than the movie started. The two, girls, Elsa and Anna, but yet, I don't know. I still didn't feel like they really took a journey. Like I didn't feel like they were really changed. Like their circumstances changed by the end of the movie, but I didn't feel like they really changed.
No, they
as a
seemed
result
like
of the thing that
they were
went
much
through.
the same.
Yeah.
And it just the stakes were not significantly high enough. There was no like consequence of action.
Yeah.
There was no like sacrifice or anything like that. It was just like, okay, bad stuff's coming. We're gonna win. And then they do. And it's just like nothing was paid for, nothing felt earned. And
And so here's the thing. Like,
and I get it's a kid's show.
right. Somebody might be, well, and that's what I'm supposed to say. Somebody might be listening to this right now, watching this right now, thinking, really, it's a kid's movie. It's just an animated film. It's supposed to be fun for families.
Right.
And you know what? Look, you're in some aspects, you're right. Right? Like, they set out to make an enjoyable movie for kids and families, and I think
largely
Josh and I
succeeded.
are in the minority of not really enjoying it that much. And our kids really loved it.
Yeah.
So, for our kids, they totally hit the mark.
Right.
But on the other hand, animation, just because a film is animated doesn't mean that it can't be a really good movie, like with really good writing and...
Well, have some substance.
Right. Pixar excels at it, and
Yeah.
Disney has excelled at it in the past and has made really great films that are enjoyable and well written and
Well, very compelling, and you just
yeah,
love the characters, love
right.
root for them in their situation,
And
and
honestly, Frozen 1 was much better at that than
I think
Frozen
so.
2. And so to me, it was a letdown. Like, I just feel like Frozen 1, the original movie was much better, and that this sequel just didn't really have the same heart to it that the first one did.
I think so. That said, I do think Olaf was really funny in this one, and
Yes.
was the most enjoyable part of the show.
Right.
I think the Anna and Kristoff thing got a little old.
Yeah, well, because
Quick.
again, it's like
They were
it
just
was
dragging the
just
whole thing
that
out.
but that whole story was underdeveloped. I'm just like, you had no sense of where her insecurity was really coming from.
Right.
I mean, they've been together all this time, and you're just like, what? Like, and then I don't know that whole story. Again, it was just like not enough information, and yet also drawn out and too long. Because it's like, if you're not gonna give more substance to it, then don't have it last the entire movie.
Yeah.
And then even like when it was resolved at the end, the resolution was just so
It
was so
forced
hurried,
and rushed.
yeah, and
Yeah.
and that was the same with everything. Everything in the climax was just like, it just happened so quickly, and I just felt like they had, it was more like an outline of a story with a bunch of songs thrown on top of it, which honestly is a problem with a lot of musicals. Movie and stage musicals have this problem a lot, where the script is underdeveloped and they rely too much on, singing and dancing and visual spectacle. And I say that as a huge, gigantic fan of musicals, but it's
Yes,
true.
you are.
Someone who grew up doing musical theater and everything, but the older I've gotten too, the more I've noticed it, where it's just like, there's not much going on here with the story or with these characters.
No, and they did have one musical number that went way too long.
Yeah, the Kristoff musical
Yeah,
number.
it was like they're trying to do, little spoiler here, kind of an 80s video styling.
Right.
And it was funny for about, 10, 15 seconds, and then they just kept doing it.
But what annoyed me the most about it is that it's a very serious song, actually.
Right.
Like, where he's really, like, this is Kristoff's moment to really, like, have a song that expresses something about what he thinks and feels.
Yeah.
And it's like the deepest insight, really, that you get to Kristoff. But you can't even really pay attention to the lyrics or what he's saying, because you're too busy laughing at the gag of it being this 80s music video.
Right. The gag kind of undercuts
Right.
the emotional moment.
And
it's
so-
just kind of like a punch in the face.
Right. So as funny as that idea was, I'm not sure it really fit the tone of this movie at all. It kind of felt like a weird throw-in thing. Like, what? Why an 80s music video in this movie of all movies? That doesn't really make sense.
No.
But then, yeah, it totally took away from what that song should have done in terms of advancing the plot and advancing his character, because you were just too busy laughing at the styling of what was going on
Right.
to really pay attention to what was happening for him in that moment as a character. So I thought it was a bad choice. And I'm
I
sure
agree.
like 90% of the people disagree with me, but just
Right. I didn't think it stuck out. I mean,
here's the thing. It was entertaining.
Yeah.
And it was funny. And so it was enjoyable in a way to watch. But as sitting there as not just a regular moviegoer, but knowing somebody that, but sitting there as somebody who I know that I have to think about it more critically because I have to go review this or whatever, I didn't enjoy it because it annoyed me, because it didn't serve the plot or the story or that character at all, and took away from those things. Actually.
right. Well, it didn't seem like a joke that was born out of the plot. It was something that they forced
Right.
in there and threw
Right.
in, and it just like, okay.
Yeah, like they had this funny idea and they just put it in there, whether it
Right.
was good for the story or not.
Well, I mean, contrast that with like the jokes that they gave to Olaf and his like retelling of the first movie
Right.
was really funny, and the way that he did that and the way that the animators handled
And
it.
it made sense that he would have to do that, right?
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, see, it made sense, like you said, and it fit. It flowed with, what they had for the story, and
Right.
instead of something just being put in.
Well, and I think, Olaf was going through this whole thing where he's discovering that he's growing up and he's discovering what that means. And unlike most, people, when they're going through those things, they can't articulate what they're experiencing and they can't really ask those kinds of questions and stuff that he did throughout the film. But it was a way for him to be kind of a narrator for how kids, what kids experience as they grow up and they develop and, they become more mature.
Right.
But then again, it's like they didn't, like that should have, if that's the theme, they should have pushed that more. They should have done a better job of weaving that throughout and weaving it into Anna and Elsa's story in a stronger way and weaving it into Kristoff's story or, like finding some way to make that more of a focal point for all of the characters. Like how do they all kind of deal with...
Right. I think the story did kind of lack an overall like story theme.
Yeah.
And it just kind of meandered through several.
I don't know. Anyway.
So anyhow, I think we've probably beat that one to death.
And I'm like, we've been complaining about this movie for a long time.
Yeah. Feel bad about that. Look, the movie doesn't suck. It's not terrible. It's just, it's got a high bar to follow with the first one and other Disney films.
Right.
And it just doesn't meet it.
Right.
I mean, a lot of people like the music, and I like the music in the first one. I mean, talking about this movie right now, I'm thinking about the music from the first one. I honestly can't remember any of the songs from this show. They did not stick. I mean, like, as soon as they were done, I had forgotten them. And
I remember them, though. And like, our daughter was singing with the...
Right.
This songs over the credits, and...
Right.
She was like, "Oh, I've already memorized these songs after hearing them once in the movie."
Right, because she's awesome that way. And again, this movie is not for my demographic, an age group, but that doesn't mean I can't enjoy it, and it doesn't mean they couldn't like snare someone from my age group to like this show,
right?
Because they did the first time around. And I don't know, it just for me it didn't work.
Yeah, but like I've talked to several other people who have seen it, and they all really enjoyed it,
right.
And so. Our complaints are our complaints. It's our opinion, obviously. We'd love to hear your opinion.
Yes.
So you can, have that discussion with us in the comments, and we can have a rumble over Frozen 2. We love that. Speaking of musicals, that rumble reference was from West Side Story. Okay, so Josh, tell us about this picture that you did of Anna and Elsa.
Well, I chose them because obviously they were the main characters, but I like the design elements that went into both of these characters, stemming back from the first film. I think they have a similar style, but like it's enough unique qualities to each of them just to make them different. I just think it looks really cool, and I like the way the artists who came up with these two characters, the iterations they went through, and a lot of the 2D drawings, before they got modeled in 3D, they looked really cool. And I just thought they were really nice looking characters. And I thought, it was just like kind of fun to draw them. So. All
right. So that's it for us. Thanks for joining us. Josh, What should they do now?
If you haven't done so already, hit the subscribe button and notification bell. Let you know when we have new content up, like this video.
Yeah.
Also, like this video.
Share this video. Comment on this video. Every like, every comment, every kind of engagement that we get with this video, every share, just helps our channel to grow and for us to get, more
a wider audience
eyes and, get this video recommended more. And so anything that you can do to help us so we can grow our audience would be much appreciated.
Yes, it would.
All right. Thanks.